Welcome to Hanging Out with Robert, that's me. This video contains things that I tinker with throughout the day. For step-by-step detailed instructions of those tasks, you can click on the links in the comment section below. I plan on leaving this video accessible for about 30 days. After that, you can view it through my Patreon account. This video also has tips and tricks that I've learned over the years. So, thank you very much for watching. Fire in the hole!
Motor's blown.
Got a blown head gasket. As soon as they try to start it, it's pushing exhaust gases into the coolant tank. And when you take the cap off the bottom, it's smoke. I ain't never seen that before. It all started with a bad radiator leaking.
Oh, I remember this car now. All I gotta see is that thing. Yeah. You got a pressure in there? Oh yeah.
Subaru came in noisy and loud. AC compressor was locking up. You could tell because it burnt the belt. Whenever you see a belt red, that means that a pulley or something in that path is locking up and it's causing the pulley to spin on the belt and burn the belt. So he's going to fix his AC situation in the spring. Here with Panther, curved another wheel. Now I got 3 curved. I got one more to curve, and I have a matching set. But we're gonna go ahead and replace the turbo, the spark plugs, and I gotta take this bar off first. Get at that turbo. Vroom vroom. Then take the charge pipe off and go from there. I see down in the cylinder, see if there's any carbon buildup down there. Ooh. Replace my plugs. Man, number 1 is cleaner than number 5. Not sure why that's like that. Anyway, get all the new plugs in. Now this turbo's cooling down, I'm gonna go ahead and unscrew these bolts on the exhaust first, then do the intake tube going down to the front of the turbo, then get the bolts off the back of the turbo flange because I'm hooking up the new flange. Then I'm going to disconnect the fluid lines, drain the coolant first into a pan. Well, guess what? I see that IPD belly pan down there. I have to pull that off. It's only 2 bolt holes. Let me get that off out of the way so I can get this turbo out. Here it is, folks. The 19T out of Panther. Oil in the charge pipe hole, that is normal. It actually comes from the PCV system. Gets sucked down into the intake through the PCV system. This turbo is tight. I felt it has no plate in or out, or up or down, side to side. Spins nice and smooth. You can see, trying to wiggle it really has no play. Blades still look good, still see the balancing line on there. I'm gonna wipe this intake out. 19T, boys. Going up to Chicago. And the tag off, as you can see. 19T used to be a 15G, but it was enlarged, and that's a billet wheel. Even though it's not a 11 blade, it's a 6x6. These intake tube that clamps onto the outside of that also gets oil down the neck. That oil seeps down in the bottom, gets on the bottom of your turbo, and collects dirt. That's why this thing is dirty, especially on the bottom side and the tag side. Now, I was told that there are 2 different straight flanges. You want that thing to be nice and brown like that, not black, covered with oil, and not white, burning up. But over here, see this number? It's got 110107. 7 means it's a larger straight flange. 6 there means it's a smaller straight flange. So you definitely want a 7 on your straight flange. Upsizing turbos. Actually, you'd be better off with an angle flange, but this one has a straight flange downpipe, 3-inch. You can see the outside of this thing is brown. That thing has gotten extremely hot a couple of times, probably when I was towing that car up that hill. I should have jumped out, look at it, took a picture of it, so you guys could see it was probably glowing red. Keep it going, keep the oil moving, you'll be okay. I don't see any major cracks or nothing in there. See one crack there, which is about normal on these things. Probably when it got super hot is when it cracked, or heck, it may have been cracked when I put it in. I'm gonna look at the one I'm about to put in, see if it's got a crack on it. Very, very common to see them on the K24s, but they get hot, they crack, they still work fine. Recently picked up a new turbo, a hybrid 19T turbo from Tony out there at A1 Turbo Industries, and I decided to put it in Panther because I was going to help somebody upgrade the performance on their car, and they ordered this turbo and decided that they couldn't afford all of the upgrades, so they decided to bypass using the turbo. So I purchased it from them, going to install it in Panther. Again, it's a hybrid 19T, which means that they took the CHRA of another turbo. Doesn't really matter the size. They could take a 13T, 13G, any turbo that has the TD04 CHRA and upgrade it to a high performance turbo. The 13T and 13G turbos are low pressure turbos. They use the same CHRA heart of the turbo. If you send it to a turbo rebuilder like A1 Turbo Industries, they can modify that turbo so that it's a larger turbo, and that's what they did here. I believe this one started out as a 15G turbo, and A1 Turbo Industries enlarged it to a 19T. They put a special high profile 11 blade billet wheel on it, and then they took the turbine and removed the 11 blade turbine and installed a high flow 9 blade turbine on it so that it spools better and faster, and did a few other things to it. Had it professionally balanced, VSR balanced, and shipped it to me so that I can install it on Panther. So that's what you're going to see here going on Panther. Not a lot of details. There's a video linked in the comments below. This turbo will likely, man, I've heard these turbo upgrades will outproduce a K24 turbo with these modifications on it. So it may increase the power band up to 30%. Now, I did a 0 to 60 pull on it on my car before replacing the turbo, and when I get it retuned, I'm going to do another pull on it, 0 to 60, to see if I could tell the difference in the 0 to 60 time. Did not have a track to do a quarter-mile time on it, which would have been ideal, but I should have a noticeable power gain in the performance upgrading to these turbos. And sometimes this turbo upgrade could be cheaper than buying a new turbo. So if you got a situation where you're replacing the turbo and trying to get more performance, you may opt at getting your stock turbo modified to a hybrid like this, instead of just getting your stock turbo and taking it to its limits, and or upgrading to some other kind of turbo where you have to make several other modifications to accommodate it. So if you got a turbo questions or interest in getting a turbo rebuilt, or getting one modified, or anything like that, replacing it with another one, any turbo questions, you can contact A1 Turbo Industries. Their information is in the comments below.
This is the exhaust flange on the turbo going in. It doesn't have any cracks on it yet. So we're going to go ahead and hook up the wastegate actuator, pressurize it, set it, and then get this thing installed. Not sure what this is. Came in the wastegate actuator thing. Looked like some kind of spacer. Maybe it slides over the arm. Yeah, kind of a perfect fit. Having a little problem with this forge. My wastegate actuator should start opening at about 3 psi. This thing doesn't start moving till about 8 psi. And that's way too strong for my taste. I'm going to pump it up so you can see. Still not moving. Still not moving. Just started moving. Yeah. I got to see if I can adjust that. Start moving down around 3. Just installed the turbo. Getting ready to put the charge pipe on. After that, we got to get in the car and crank it until the low oil pressure light goes out in the dash. That way, the oil system pressurizes the turbo and gets oil flowing through that turbo before you start the car. Start the car without the oil pressure in there, that turbo starts spinning high and fast. You know, it may spin 20,000 RPMs at idle. That's too fast to be starving of oil. So you want your turbo to last a long time, you got to start that thing off with oil pressure flowing through it. The turbo guy wants you to crank it until oil starts dumping out of the oil drain. I'm not going to do that. I already hooked up the oil drain, but I'm going to crank it until I get the low oil pressure light out. That'll let me know it's pressurized, that line. See the low oil pressure right there? I got to crank the car till that goes out. We do not want low oil pressure when that engine starts. Alright, crank it 10-15 seconds, let it rest 10-15 seconds. Low oil pressure is already gone. We can hook it up and fire it up. If you feel that this information was useful, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can subscribe to my channel so that you will get notifications of future videos that I post. You can follow me on Twitter, and if you need to contact me directly, please visit my website. And if you have any questions, leave them below, and someone or myself will reply to them. Again, thank you very much for watching.